I'm going to start by counting how many steps I need per layer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a landing, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need 7 steps both ways, and then a landing. So I don't need these right now. I'm going to go ahead and remove them, and go ahead and hide this wall. And why not that one, and that one, and that one. Anything that I won't need, I'm going to just hide. I will need that wall though, so hide that. This just cleans up the this cleans up the view such that nothing is cluttering my view. So this is where I need stairs. I know I need 7 and then a landing, 7 and then a landing, and then another set, only this one's going to be different because it meets with the floor. Start off with the regular 11 inches by 7 inch 11 inch run by 7 inch rise, and for starters I think it's best if I create a new layer, name it stairs, and color it let's go with orange, just as a contrast against the lavender. Once you have this, you can select the line tool, start from wherever it doesn't, or select the layer and start from wherever, it doesn't really matter where. 11 inches, click, do it again, click, select vertical this time, and go down by 7 inches. Select vertical this time and go down by 7 inches for the 7 inch rise, and then select both of these lines and copy. What you can do, I forgot to mention this, but go ahead and lock your 1/4 layer, and that way you can't select the objects behind these. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a landing. So I'm just going to draw that with a simple line, and go ahead, select everything here, select everything here, click, shift click, or actually no, don't shift click, it doesn't really matter, but select this, do -1, and that'll inverse them. Sorry. Select this, Alt, tap this, and then Alt click that. Once you have your stairs and your landing, select everything, select the dotted line, and then once you have your stairs, once you have your steps and your landing, go and select everything, Alt click the dotted line, and then type in -1 and enter, and it will duplicate your stairs inversely, so move them across to where you need to go. And because you want to go down one more step, go ahead and move that over. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is your landing though, so go ahead and pull down or select these lines, copy, move, and then select everything on this layer to group them. You can group them at any point. Grouping does just make it easier. Select group, and then I'm going to move this down so I can select the rest of these and group them. Move. Like that. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, landing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, landing. So you see that the landings don't line up with the floors. So I'm going to move this down to here because you're forgetting that a step needs to go here. And then scale 1D, select this, and the landing will go right at the midpoint such that a step can go on top of here. scale 1D. Sometimes it takes some fiddling around to get it perfect. So in this case, if I have it here, that's not correct. But if I scale it from this side up to the midpoint, then this is the steps I actually want. So to create a stringer for this, I'm going to go ahead and mark out 1/8, so that'd be half a foot. 0.5 feet is there, and like that. So I'm going to do rectangle to vertical, so rectangle, vertical, create these steps. With this curve, copy and duplicate all of these. So those are my steps. Those will be the 1/8 MDF that I will use. I can go ahead and delete that and create a stringer for these. So I'm going to get a line, go to the midpoint, or maybe in between the midpoints. So once I have my steps made, I forgot to create a landing, so let me go back and do that. So once I have my steps made, I can go ahead and delete the groups and any extra lines that I have that I might not need. So this one, there's a curve here that I'm going to get rid of, if I can select it. There we go. And landing's been made. I can go ahead and delete that. Now, once I have the steps in and they're all spaced apart the way I want them to be, I'm going to create a stringer for them. You may notice that these aren't lined up exactly because there's half an inch or half a foot here and then a little bit more than half a foot there. It's fine. Stairs, yeah, while they should be exact, I haven't found a good way to make them exactly the way I want, but this works good enough for now. So once you have your stairs in place, make sure that they line up. You want the bottom of the top step to line up with the bottom of the top floor, and the bottom of the bottom step to line up with the top of the bottom floor. And go ahead and select everything, extract them from the wall, rotate them, make them 2D, and then from here we can work from top view. This will be to create a stringer, and I'm going to go ahead and move it outside the grid so it's easier to see. Maybe change the color such that it's easier to see. I'm going to do dark green. Does that show up better? Dark green. Yeah, that shows up better. So for creating a stringer, it's all about matching. So if you want to add that little gap in between the step and the stairs, or a step in the stringer, that is okay. I will show you to the best of my ability how to do that by going mid, and then going down to here. Actually, just by selecting mid and then end and then going down to here and going over, that's one way to do it. And then copy from the midpoint or whichever point, it'll copy it the same all the way down. But because that doesn't line up with your floor up above, because technically your floor is here, you don't have a space here now. You can do it this way if you want, but easier way would be just to select the corners and go all the way down like this. Now, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. One will just be a little bit off. One will just be a little bit off compared to the other. What you can even do is take this and move it 2.75 inches that way, and then have it set up already. And go ahead and rotate this to do -1. Actually, before you do that, let's get the line in there. So you want midpoint-ish and go down to 1/2 of a foot. Offset both sides 0.25, and that'll be your stringer for the landing. Go ahead and select polyline all the way out here, doesn't really matter where, and select the bottom corner of the top step to the landing. Bottom corner of the top step to the landing, and then scale 1D. From there onward, doesn't matter where, move from the, and then go ahead and move the top step, this part out a foot, or let's go with 0.75 such that that whole thing is a foot, and then move this line to there. Then we can do is trim like that, enter, and you have one stringer. Now you can select these pieces. You will probably need to create a piece right here, select it, and group, or even join. Now to create the bottom stringer, what you can do is select this, inverse it, Alt hold, or not Alt hold, but Shift. Actually, no, you can just do that, doesn't matter. Move this to where you want it, and then move it -2.75 inches. Just make sure that they're equal on both sides. And from here, you'll want to chop off this end because it does meet the floor instantly. So trim like that, and then group, and up here trim, get rid of this and this. Now with this part, you'll want a line to go from here to here, and then from here to here. Curve, curve, trim, like that, and then group, group. And those are your two stringers. So you have one stringer, two stringer, center part, which I will make with a rectangle. I'll need, so rectangle box, like that, and then delete that line. So landing stringer, step stringer 1, step stringer 2. From here, select everything. Now we're going to make it 3D. It just works, it's easier to work in a 2D space than 3D when creating the stringers, so go ahead and put it back to where it was. Select the stringer, select the stringers, and the landing, and that box, and all. Go ahead and just select everything. Create a mesh or a surface out of each. extrude surface by 1 foot. Same with this one. Now your steps will need to be half this distance, so go ahead and take your surface of each step. Like so. And extrude surface to the midpoint of your stairwell. So reference point there, midpoint. Now I do believe I want these sets of steps on this side. Or not, hold on. So if I go up these steps, yeah, so I do want, no. Okay. So I want the top steps on this side, but in order to do that first, I'm going to select the stringer, move midpoint to the midpoint of the step, and then same for this one. Midpoint to the midpoint of the step, minus 2.75, stringer, 2.75 inches. And select everything here, like so, and move from this to that reference point to the midpoint there. And then for your landing, extrude surface, that can just go all the way across to that point. And those are your steps done. So, not necessarily to scale or accurate, because that's probably not how steps are made. That's kind of weird how it's just a bit more than half a foot and then exactly half a foot. But it works good enough for a physical model. So you can go ahead and sell surface, sell SRF, delete, sell line, delete, sell group. Can you do that? Okay. Guess not, but go ahead and delete everything that you don't need. So you do need this. Hide. Whatever you don't need, you can delete, show, and show. No other layers are hidden. Show. There we go. So, everything is complete except for the steps on the bottom floor. Go ahead and hide the walls that you don't need, like I had. Select this. Lock, remember to lock. Select this. Alt, move down, and then go ahead and move it to move this point, the midpoint of your step, to the midpoint in between here. Oh boy. Here, right there. So reference point, reference point. Reference point, which will be right there. Is that correct? Like that. That way it's perfectly lined up, although it doesn't look to be. So I'm going to try again. It might help to hide this for now and get your lines in place. So regular line or single line from that point to over here, and then from the midpoint of that down to perpendicular, and then show. Select all this. Move. From here to the end of this line, and now it's lined up. So I can go ahead and delete these reference lines, and you'll notice that the floor cuts off this bottom stringer area, so you can go ahead and do like Boolean difference to get rid of this, or trim. I'm going to copy this floor, copy and paste, and then Boolean difference, because when you Boolean difference it removes the extrusion. And that's it. So you have 3 different types of stringers, 28 steps if you're doing 7 steps for 4 floors, or 2 floors, 2 ways, so 14 steps per floor, and then 2 landings. And one thing I forgot to add is this. So go ahead and create a box that's that size, or wider if you want it to go out like to the midpoint here, and then it would line up with that to the top. So whichever size you want. Personally, I think that actually looks better, even though it kind of cuts off that stringer there, but that's fine. I can copy it, move it down to there, and boom. Now stairs are done. What I can do is get everything back together. So show and stop recording.